Chapter 2085, Luring the Enemy. The two felt Zhang Yi's determination, and no one questioned it. This was the trust they had placed in Zhang Yi over the years. Deng Shintong crossed his arms and asked seriously, "What do you need us to do?" "I can give you all the resources of the Deng family. Just stay at home and don't do anything. It's best to let everyone think that we're afraid." Zhang Yi tapped the table with a cold smile. "We're moving." "Moving?" Everyone at the table looked at Zhang Yi, some confused, some reluctant. Deng Shintong thought for a moment and suddenly understood what Zhang Yi meant. "Show weakness to the enemy and stay away from the coastline. We want the Wulwan Empire to think that we are afraid and dare not be their enemy, right?" Zhang Yi nodded with a smile. "You're right. Think about it, Deng Shintong. If one day, a group of insubordinates from an outer city said they wanted to attack Blizzard City, but their leader was only a Delta-level mutant, would you be afraid?" Deng Shintong said, "Of course not. I understand. The Wulwan Empire has no way of knowing about your trump card. At least on paper, even if the entire Huashu Kingdom joined forces, it would be unable to defeat the Wulwan Empire. However, Miss Yang's abilities and your control over Ling's human body are beyond their calculations." Zhang Yi picked up his rice bowl and began to eat again. People must eat their fill in order to have the strength to do what they want and take revenge. These 2 points will be the key to the destruction of the Wulwan Empire. East Sea Region. East Sea City had now become a muddy wasteland, looking very miserable. After the sea receded, a large amount of sludge remained, covering the entire city and making it extremely difficult to clean up. East Sea City had also become lifeless, with everyone's faces filled with numbness, seemingly losing hope for the future. However, one person's misfortune is another person's fortune. For the insubordinates of the East Sea region, East Sea City's preoccupation with its own problems gave them an opportunity to rise. The Wild Wolf Gang was a mutant organization that had risen in the last 6 months. About 300 kilometers northeast of East Sea City, on a cliff by the sea in Bojun City, stood dozens of people. They were dressed in black leather combat suits, purchased from the black market. These were models discarded by the military 2 years ago, but for ordinary people, they were like magical garments for warmth and protection against the cold. The black cliff faced the gloomy ocean, with waves crashing against the cliff, their sounds carrying a chill. The members of the Wild Wolf Gang were of all ages, the oldest in their 40s and the youngest only in their teens, but their faces were filled with a ferocity that did not match their age. In order to survive in this cruel end of the world, ruthlessness was a necessary quality. In just half a year, Bojun City had become their territory, and the fishermen on the coast had to give them a share of their catch. However, the tsunami crisis they encountered this time killed all the fishermen in the vicinity, which was a significant blow to the Wild Wolf Gang's economy. But this was not necessarily a bad thing. East Sea City had been severely damaged, and the Sea Dragon Guard's control over the surrounding area had become lax, allowing them to become kings in their own domain. As for people, the population problem was something for the old men in high places to worry about, not them. There were plenty of survivors, and it was easy to capture some of them to continue serving them. Standing on the edge of the cliff was a fair-skinned teenager dressed in black leather combat gear without a speck of dirt on him, which was extremely rare among the Wild Wolf Gang. Gazing at the deep and terrifying sea in the distance, the leader of the Wild Wolf Gang, Piao, looked distracted, as if he was thinking about something. "Boss, Bojun City is now completely under our control. Without the restrictions of East Sea City, we have nothing to fear from anyone. I think we can continue to expand our influence and move towards the northeast." A teenager wearing a leather hat and with a steel nail in his mouth walked over and said. Piao seemed not to hear these words. The teenager continued his speech, trying to persuade his boss. Piao had not joined them for long, but he had conquered everyone with his powerful strength and expanded the Wild Wolf Gang dozens of times, making it a famous and powerful mutant team in the vicinity. "Under your leadership, except for those tough guys from East Sea City, what other teams in this area can compete with us? Boss, you can become the underground king of the East Sea region. One day, you might even replace East Sea City and become the true emperor of the land. The young man became more and more excited as he spoke. He had seen Piao's strength, his powerful abilities that made people tremble, and from the moment they first met, he wanted to kneel before him. The East Sea region's most vicious mutant team, the ghouls, didn't last 2 seconds in front of Piao and were all wiped out. Piao listened for a while, then suddenly said, "I have to go." The voices behind him stopped abruptly, and everyone's faces showed expressions of shock. "Boss, where are you going?" Piao looked out at the sea and said, "There." "What? There? That's the sea. Are you okay, boss?" Piao replied calmly, "That place is interesting, and here, there's nothing left that can hold me back." Without waiting for anyone to stop him, he leaped off the cliff, diving headfirst into the sea. "Ah!" The members of the Wild Wolf gang cried out in alarm and hurriedly gathered around to look down, but all they saw was a splash of white waves. In the deep, dark sea, the figure of the teenager gradually disappeared, revealing the beautiful, white face of a girl that didn't look human. Zhu Yu's figure rippled in the sea, and after a moment, she turned into a dolphin and swam into the depths of the ocean. In the middle of the sea, a huge and terrifying monster was swimming. In the Wulwan Empire, the silver armor general, power of 8 gods Animo, was a huge shadow in the deep sea. His black body was more than 200 meters long, and his ferocious head was as terrifying as a devil. In addition to the sharp fins on his back, he also had many sharp spikes. After Zhenglu issued the order to seal off the coastline, he came here every day to patrol and hunt down any humans who appeared in the sea. Suddenly, Animo sensed something swimming nearby. He rolled his huge eyes, but only saw a small dolphin passing by in the distance. Animo immediately lost interest and continued to swim along the coastline of the Southeast Sea. He did not notice that the dolphin was swimming in the direction of Star Island's Mist Valley. Chapter 2086, The Night of Benevolence. After the Demon's Eye sealing operation ended, Zhang Yi could no longer hide what he had been hiding. For example, he was the biggest beneficiary of the Chernobyl incident, receiving a gift from a mighty god-level civilization. For example, in the Sealed Land, he obtained the remains of a mighty god-level civilization, which were suspected to be those of an ancient angel. The Nordic countries, the Holy See, and Colombia all knew about these things. The whole world was in turmoil, and people were both wary of Zhang Yi and filled with intense jealousy. However, precisely because the Wulwan Empire launched an attack on the Huashu Kingdom, all parties chose to remain on the sidelines. On the side of the Holy See, Olive received the news and immediately went to consult with Pope Alexander X. "Your Holiness, the underground civilization located under Star Island in the Pacific Ocean has begun to attack the Huashu Kingdom again. They have triggered a huge tsunami targeting the southeast coast of the Huashu Kingdom. This action should be in retaliation for Chaos and the others." Olive had seen with his own eyes that 6 silver armor generals had been controlled by Yang Xinxin, so he understood that while they were unaware, Zhang Yi's team must have fought a battle with the Wulwan Empire's troops and emerged victorious. The Pope leaned back on his throne, his arms, which were like dry tree branches, protruding from his luxurious robe and supporting his skull-like face. What an unexpected guy, what a deep schemer. The people of the Huashu Kingdom are always difficult to see through. By the way, I heard that he is very close to the guys from Pupil's organization. Olive nodded and said, "That's right. Moreover, I suspect that the Emperor of the Khitan Empire, Saladin, may also be a member of Pupil's organization." The Pope grinned, revealing his few remaining teeth. The day of the fall is approaching, and these guys hiding in the shadows are starting to come out. It doesn't matter, just let them show themselves. Once they're all out in the open, we can wipe them all out. Olive asked, "So, should we intervene in the matter of Chaos in the Wulwan Empire?" The Pope countered, "Bishop Olive, what is your opinion on this matter?" Olive replied without hesitation, "I don't think we should interfere. This is a good time to wait and see. Let's see how powerful Michael's holy relics really are." The Holy See had determined that Ling was the legendary Archangel Michael. "Yes, that's a good idea. Let's see how they deal with this problem." The secret base of the pupil organization was located on a mysterious small island in the Atlantic Ocean called Oyster Island. An old European-style villa stood in the middle of a beautiful jungle. Montesquieu, the president of the pupil organization, sat on the sofa, with Mildred Bratt, a level 32 member of the pupil organization, sitting next to him. Montesquieu raised his hand to pour Bratt a cup of coffee, then sat back down, crossed his legs, and placed his hands on his thighs. Chaos and the Holy See are at odds? Montesquieu asked with a smile, as this was undoubtedly good news. Bratt nodded. Yes, the news came from the Knight of Chivalry, so it can't be false. A fierce conflict has broken out between them. From what we know of Chaos, he is an extremely cautious person. After being targeted like this, it's impossible for him to stand on the same side as the Eastern Orthodox Church in the future. The two men looked at each other and smiled, unable to hide the joy on their faces. As one of the top mutants in the world today, they had seen Zhang Yi's strength with their own eyes. If they could bring Zhang Yi over to their side, it would undoubtedly be of great help to them. Even if Zhang Yi refused to join the pupil organization, at least he wouldn't join the Holy See. In any case, this was very good news. We must do everything we can to win over Chaos. Montesquieu took a sip of coffee. Oh, Your Excellency, I agree. Whether it is to strengthen our pupil organization or to strike a blow against the Holy See, this is a very good plan. However, at the moment, we lack effective means to win over Chaos and make him one of us. Montesquieu stroked his chin. Bratt, you'll find a way, won't you? You've always been very resourceful. If it weren't for your advice and planning for pupil, we wouldn't have been able to fight the Holy See for so long. Receiving Montesquieu's praise, Bratt couldn't hide the smile on his face. Thank you for your praise, President. But the opportunity you mentioned may be right in front of us. He handed over a paper document, and Montesquieu quickly put on his reading glasses. It described the attack on the Huashu Kingdom by the Wulwan Empire. More than 1,000 kilometers of coastline has been submerged, and a super tsunami hundreds of meters high has affected dozens of cities. My God, how terrifying! Montesquieu couldn't help but exclaim. This is just too horrible. Bratt said, this is nothing compared to the real doomsday we will face in the future. Montesquieu leaned back on the sofa and thought carefully. We have to help him. This is not only for the pupil organization, but also to curb the arrogance of the underground civilization in time and strive to maintain peace in the human world before the day of the fall arrives. This is what we must do. After all, we are not those bastards in the Holy See, who are eager to see people die. Bratt said, that's true. Then who do you plan to send? This mission is very difficult and extremely dangerous. Not everyone is up to the task. Montesquieu held his chin in his hand and thought for a long time, then suddenly he knew who to send. Let's send the Knight of Benevolence. When Bratt heard this name, his eyes widened in surprise. Your Excellency, I don't think this is a suitable candidate. That guy easily messes things up. And you should know how he got his title of knight. Montesquieu smiled and waved his hand. I've thought it through, and he is indeed the most suitable person for this mission. Moreover, if we send him, I believe Chaos will not refuse. Seeing Montesquieu so insistent, Bratt had no choice. Very well, I will go myself. Hopefully, he can provide some help to Chaos. Bratt stood up, bowed, and left Montesquieu's tea room. Montesquieu rubbed his face with one hand, and a hint of loneliness appeared in his eyes. I really hope that day will come later. But he sighed softly, threw the documents in his hand onto the coffee table, revealing the image on the document underneath. It was a circular celestial body with a black and gray base, reflecting a dim light in space and covered with large and small craters that looked like missile strikes. In the lower left corner of the celestial body, there was a huge, dark crack.